Yeah. Hi everyone. Today I am going to provide some introduction about the basic Python. What are the benefits of Python? If you learn Python, what we can achieve? What type of applications we can develop if you learn Python? Already we have so many scripting languages in market, but still why we have to learn Python? And what are the several areas in IT industry where we are using Python? For what purpose several people are using this Python? And also, if you want to learn Python, what are the tools that are required to perform Python scripting? And also, we will talk about what are the various tools that we can have in the market to perform Python scripting language. Let's see. Basically, if you are seeing that the first slide, he is a person who started investigation, Guido van Rossum, with Python. Actually, Python is a scripting language. It's not a programming language. There is a difference between programming language as well as scripting language, because every programming language are basically compiler based models. But if you take scripting language, not only Python, all scripting languages are interpreters. That means once you write a code in Python, you no need to compile. You can directly execute. That's why it will call interpreter. For suppose, if you Java program, as per step number 1, you have to write Java program. Step number 2, compile Java program. Step number 3, if compilation success, execute. So that's why Java, C, C++ or programming languages, the two compiler based models. And there is one more difference between programming languages as well as scripting languages. You have to follow strict rules and regulations in programming language which is not required much in scripting languages. Yes, of course. That's why Python is one of the best. Yes. Coming to Python. Python is also available in 2000, 2005, 2010s also. But why people have not been realized about Python? Why in 2013, 2015 like that people have been realized? Yes, still we have in 2004 also, 2008 also we have Python. But there is a drawback in Python in those years, because in that duration we don't have much modules in Python. Going forward, they have launched so many modules in Python because of modules concept. So Python was become familiarized in market. So ultimately, I can say a simple definition for Python is a collection of modules. So that's why it's a scripting language. Yes, sir. In the next slide, I am going to explain where this Python scripting language is used in industry, IT industry. Yeah. If you see this slide, yes, sir. In market and IT industry, people are using this Python in the people who are working in DevOps, which is like a CI/CD integrations, Jenkins. For manual automations, we can automate into whatever manual task we can automate using Python. At the same time, the main agenda of Python, machine learning, data science, deep learning. So basically, these are the major areas of Python, like data science and machine learning. At the same time, we have the people who are working on automation testing. Earlier, people are working with Selenium. Selenium is a Java-based scripting language. At the same time, now, instead of Selenium, even we can integrate Selenium in Python for automation testing. Yes, people are preferring Python for automation testing. At the same time, not only automation testing, at the same time, people are using for web development. In earlier, basically, we have PHP, Java, Ruby and Rails. We have so many web development languages are there, but still using Python and also web development options. So for that purpose, we have separate frameworks are there like Django, Flask, Pyramid, Bottle. There are so many frameworks that are having for web development. Not only for web development, but also we have game development. Yes, sir. Python is having such a kind of capability in developing the games. Yes, along with that, people are using in IT industry, the people who are working it networking, storages, network storages like Cisco, Brocade, clients also people are using for Python for automations. Along with these areas, even still Windows administrators, Unix administrators, any operating system administrators are also using this Python for automations. Because wherever you go in IT industry, all manual tasks can be done, automated with Python. At the same time, not only Windows administrators, and at the same time, we have also in market database administrators like Oracle administrators, SQL Server administrators, Sybase administrators. Yes, like such kind of database administrators also, they can automate their manual tasks in their. Along with the database administrators and Windows administrators, we have one more area, data visualization. So for data processing, we have already in market with like Power BI, Tableau, tools are there for reporting actually. So for reporting also option in Tableau and Power BI, even we can write Python scripts to make our task very simple to generate the reports according to client requirements. Capability is there Python with the combination of Tableau. There are not only Tableau, coming to storage like big data, Hadoop. So which is the part? Earlier in Hadoop, people are using regularly Scala. Scala is a programming language. Why not? The Scala, using Scala, they are interacting Apache Spark. That is one of the model in Hadoop, but nowadays, no, there is no requirement of Scala. Scala has been replaced with Python. So even in Python module, PySpark. PySpark is a module where we can interact with Apache Spark, which is just like a backend database. So in Hadoop, the people who are working with Hadoop also, the people are using with Python with PySpark instead of Scala. Like that, people are using with ETL. People also work with Python. At the same time, Python supports all databases. That means we can interact with Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, MongoDB, Cassandra, all databases Python supports. So that much of features are there if you are learning Python. If you want to work with in future, you can opt any area. So that's why Python is having high demand in the market. Yes, sir. Let me go to, yeah. Why Python? Because not only Python in the current market, we have so many other scripting languages. I can say shell scripting, Perl scripting, R scripting, Java scripting, VB scripting. We have n number of scripting languages are there along with Python scripting. Then why we have to choose Python? Because there are few disadvantages are there comparing with other scripting languages. That is, the first one is it is very and right. That means if you see the code, any non-technical person, I'm not talking about technical persons, any non-technical field people also can easy to understand, can easily implement. Such a kind of easiest language, it looks like a English language. That's why people are preferring easily to cope up with Python. And as I said earlier, it is an interpreter model. That means it will check line by line execution. If you write 100 lines of code, 100 lines of code, there is an error at line number 51. So it will check line number 1, line number 2, up to so on 50 lines. So it will execute 50 lines of code. At line 51, there is an error. So it will stop execution at line number 51 and it will skip remaining lines of code. That is the model of interpreter. So Python also follows interpreter. So since it is an interpreter, you no need to compile. So directly you can execute. So you no need to have any middleware interpreter file executable. So directly you can execute. That is one of the advantage of Python. And if you want to learn, if any student, if already existing employees needs to learn Python, no prerequisite to learn. The student does not have any programming language awareness. The people who wants to learn from scratch without having any C basics or Java basics, they can easily learn Python. Now coming to object-oriented approach. So far in IT in industry, no scripting language so far in IT industry follows OOPS concepts. Only programming languages like Java, C#, C. These programming language only follows OOPS concept. But one of the major advantage with Python is OOPS concepts like encapsulation, data abstraction, polymorphism, all those things we can achieve with Python completely full-fledged. So that's why I can Python is the competitor, 100% competitor for Java. Whatever applications you can develop in Java, all applications we can develop in Python, because which follows OOPS concept. So we have class concept, we have object concept, we have methods concept. That's why this is the one of the major advantage in Python. As I told earlier, we have in-market shell scripting, Perl scripting, Java scripting is also there, along with Python scripting. Yes, sir. So majorly Python is a definition of collection of modules, collection of packages. That means if a student learns how many modules he learn, he will become that much of expertise. That means today you might know, a student might know 100 modules, tomorrow 200 modules. So that day by day, the student is increasing his experience, his professionalism in Python. How many, it depends on module count. So each and every module is having its own importance. That is a major advantage again with Python. I can say that modules in the sense, Microsoft is there, so Microsoft will provide one module. Oracle is there, Oracle will provide one module. Acrobat will provide one module. Amazon Web Services will provide one module. Facebook will provide one module. Like that, each and every third-party vendors are providing modules to Python. So that's why we can work with any vendor. We can work with any company, third-party clients. That is the one of the advantage of a module concept in Python. And it's open source. You don't need to buy any license. It's a free of cost. We have n number of versions are there. The popular versions are 2.7, Python 3.6, Python 3.7. And right now in the market, we have latest version 3.8. This is all about the advantages of Python. So ultimately, we have to prefer Python. Yeah, the real advantages, like exact advantages of Python are, I told, third-party modules: Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, Facebook, Twitter, yes, Oracle, MySQL, whatever it may be, Azure, Google Cloud, all are third-party modules that are included with Python. That is the one of the, as we have n number of modules are there in Python. Because of that, we can interact with any client using Python and user-friendly data structures. So as I told, it is very simply to understand, simply to write a code, and simply to implement a code, and easy to understand. Any non-technical persons can understand easily. That's why it's user-friendly. There are no much rules and regulations, just like a Java or C or C++. Yes, and productivity and speed. That means if a student develop any project or application in Python, the scalability, the performance, speed, all those we can compare with Java applications, because the same, however, performance of Java application, the same performance we can expect in Python applications also. Why? Because Python follows the Java architecture. The backend architecture of Python is just like a JVM. The people who knows Java, because Java follows JVM architecture, Java virtual machine architecture. The same architecture Python also follows. That's why the same productivity according to scalability and performance we can expect the same comparing with Java. So this is the one of the major advantage with Python again. Yes, sir. Actually, in this slide, there is a old figure actually. Python is having 1,40,000 modules to perform any task in IT. This is a little bit old figure. We have currently market, I can say rough figure, how modules are there. Just imagine 2 lakhs modules in Python is not a simple figure. That means each and every module is having its own priority to perform relevant tasks. So where all these modules are available? All these 2 lakhs modules are available under PyPy. PyPy in the sense Python package index. So all Python package index contains 2 lakhs of modules. Today 2 lakhs of modules. Tomorrow 3 lakhs of modules might be happen. If a student is a master in Python, he can develop one module and he can also upload in PyPy. So it will become 2 lakhs one module. Even if I am an expert in some module, I can also develop my own module. I can also upload in PyPy. So PyPy contains all 2 lakhs modules. Whatever count it will be, all PyPy contains all modules. So you can upload, you can download. Here, I have been given a few modules here. So for time's sake, OS, operating system. If you want to interact with Unix or Windows, you can use OS module. Random. If you want to generate OTP, you can use random module. Mat, which is a mathematical operations. If you want to do any kind of mathematical operations, we can work on mat module. XLRD, if you want to read Excel sheet data, or if you want to write Excel sheet data, you can have XLRD. PySpark, as I told you, if you want to interact with Python with Apache Spark in big data, the people are using PySpark module. PyMySQL is one of the one Python application wants to interact with MySQL client to perform crude operations like insert, delete, update, select. Yes, sir. We can have PyMySQL module. We can use that module, and using those functions of a module, we can do all operations. But is a module again, which is a most high importance module in market to interact with Amazon Web Services cloud. So use go to 3 module functions, we can interact all the services of AWS, and we can do whatever we want. PyInstaller, if you want to create an executable file, so using PyInstaller, we can generate an executable file. CX Oracle to interact with Oracle database. At the same time, Socket is a module where if there is a requirement of networking components, networking applications, easily we can do networking programming through Socket. Tkinter, basically the intention of Tkinter is module, which is a highly important module where a student can develop user interface applications, desktop applications actually. I can say standalone applications. If you want to develop a small standalone applications on your desktop, so using Tkinter, we can develop. So like that, NumPy, SkyPy, Pandas. These 3 modules are mostly used for data science people. The people who are working on data science, these people will use these 3 modules. At the same time, XML. If you want to extract the data from XML file, if you want to write data into XML file, we can use XML module. And Matplotlib. If you want to generate graphs, usually in 10th class or 8th class, people are using line graph, bar graph, pie charts, scatter plots. So if you want to draw graphs according to x-axis, according to y-axis, yes sir, we can also generate graphs using Matplotlib. Usually I can say simple example, natural real-time example. While watching cricket matches, we are able to see so many graphs, bar graphs and scatter graphs, line graphs. So those graphs also we can work with Matplotlib. So from this, understand each and every module is having its own importance. Each and every module is having its own predefined functions. Using those predefined functions, we can work however requirement will be there, right? And if you see this slide, actually, I have written a small snippet, code snippet, 7 lines of code in Java and 1 line of code in Python. The people who knows Java or any C programming people, they can understand this program. I want to print hello Python 10 times. In Java, if you want to write hello, if you want to print hello Python 10 times, you should have minimum to minimum main function and class. And without for loop, we cannot print hello Python 10 times. And also, since Java is a strong programming language, we have to follow very strict rules. If you miss semicolon here, it won't compile. If you miss one curly braces in this code, it won't compile. Again, in main function, we have a word, the string. If you put small letter, it won't work. Basically, I told you, right? All programming languages are very strict. We have to follow and regulations according to that programming language. And it's a very 7 lines of code is required to print hello Python for small program. Whereas the same requirement, if you consider in sample file, it's a 1 line of code. That is enough. So simply, if you say any non-technical person print hello Python *10, automatically it will print 10 times. So you tell me as a student, you can consider that one lines of code is better, one line of code is better. Obviously, one line of code is better. Not only here, if you consider any scenario in market, so we can reduce lines of code in project. So which is very, very important in project implementation. That's why people are preferring Python. And as I said, these are the various tools that are available in market. You can choose any tool. If you want to do some programming in Python, you can opt for Spider, you can opt for PyCharm, you can opt for Wing, Ideal, Pyjo. All are open source tools. You can use any tool and you can write Python code in any of the tool. Usually, the first ranking in the market is PyCharm. Most of the real-time projects will use PyCharm. People might use Spider or any other things. Even we have other tools like Visual Code. We have like other tools like some other tools are there. Basically, majorly these are the major things actually. All right. Yeah. As I mentioned, these are the web application frameworks to develop web applications like Django. If you want to develop just a competitor for Java, like in Java, we have Spring, Hibernate, Web Services, like that. In the similar way, .NET MVC, like that, we have Django, Flask, Pyramid, Bottle. Yes, sir. And basically, this is the overall view of a course content. So basically, as a Python developer, as a Python code developer, should have strong foundation with hands-on in these topics. Just I have mentioned a top-level view, not inline content. We have inline content separately, like operators, conditional statements, looping statements, collections like tuples, list, dictionary, set, string handling, error handling, function, modules, OOPS concept, how we can interact with MySQL, file handling, Lambda functions, regular expressions. All these are the very, very basic foundation, which should have very good hands-on. Then only he can become a good core developer. Then only he can move to any market like DevOps or Hadoop or AWS or automation testing, like that. Thank you, sir.